I am Camilo Julian. I am a trans guy from Chiapas, Mexico. I am an activist and an organizer. Well, I grew up in a very poor community. I didn't have shoes. I only drank coffee. Like, I cannot drink milk. I cannot eat meat because I didn't grow up with these things. They were too expensive. And the circumstances, people will be like, okay, I grew up in a bar and I lived in the top floor. So for them, it's sort of like the worst place for like a child to develop. For me, it was the most magical experience. I felt like I really lived life. And the connections again that I made were really genuine because they were sort of like at the very core of who we are and what we need. In this bar, there were a lot of queer people. And it was interesting because I felt like I was exposed at an early age to very feminine guys, very masculine women.
Is this in Mexico or is this in
This is in Mexico.
Okay.
And sort of like I felt like growing up in Mexico, in these surroundings, it opened up the doors, right? Because sort of like all the outcasts were sort of like my community. And so I felt like growing up I could be a masculine little girl because I saw that and people respected them and they were our friends. And one of my happiest memories growing up is once the bar was closing, there were a couple of folks left, sort of like the regulars, and they will all of a sudden burst out with songs and they will like act, and I will always think like they were funny, they were joking, and it wasn't until later that I was like, these were actually drag shows with all the glitter, with all the song and the drama, and I just felt like every time now that I go to a club, it brings me back to that childhood memory of growing up and being yourself and sharing that with other people. And sort of like I've come out twice in my life. Once my mother brought me out. She sat me down and she said, you know what, you're 15 years old and you're gay. And I freaked out. I was like, Mom, I'm not gay, you know? And I was like, no, this is not true, it can't be real. And then she says, yes you are, I already told everybody. And everybody's okay with this. I freaked out even more. I was like, this is my privacy, how you're telling everybody. And she says, don't worry, we'll have a birthday, celebration for this. Sort of like as your new rebirth, that everybody will acknowledge this. So we went to a restaurant, she actually brought cake, she had mariachis, she brought my friends, and then I was like confused, I was nervous. I was kind of angry at first because like, how dare you put my privacy out on blast? But it was the most transformative experience for me. I felt like I could be sort of myself and very open. I recently, about 10 years later, I came out again as a trans guy and sort of explained to her that I am not necessarily gay, that I'm just a trans guy. And she was like, oh, okay, perfect, no problem, like I kind of already knew. As a trans person, as a trans guy, when I realized that I was trans is when I had my period. Because I was like, this is not how I'm supposed to go through puberty. But I think that I'm sharing this because we don't talk about these issues. And especially in the Latino community, right, women having the period, it's like a taboo. But add to that the trans experience, and it's something that I haven't discussed with anybody else. But I felt like that is one of the points when I was like, I am different. And my body's doing something different. And so for me it was like when I had that realization, I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know what it was because I couldn't talk about my period itself, let alone tied to gender, you know? We don't think about how we as a community share a lot of experiences, right? Just the fact that we live as sort of LGBT people, we have a lot more in common than other folks that are not part of the LGBT community. So we forget that because we get stuck in the whole like what are our needs, but not so much on what we can do together as a community. So I think that it's a little bit of perspective, and maybe it has to do with sort of where we are as a movement, right? Sometimes we've been lacking a lot of support. We're still fighting battles, legal battles, right? Cultural battles. We're still fighting to come out at home. So there's a need to have sort of particular support networks. But my hope is that eventually we'll go on to the more action, more like what can we do, what do we have to offer as a community. My confidence comes from knowing that I can be my true self everywhere I go. because I know that I have a community that supports me. And that community includes my friends, my family members, the people that are out there being allies, right? Because it takes a whole community for me to feel comfortable walking down the street. So when I have that support network, I feel like I can better be myself, and that means that I can explore and I can be daring and I can sort of push like my beliefs, which are that of the community, because I have their support. And so I feel fierce because I have my community supporting me.
Hola. 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 Hola.